Jordan, start with secondary struggles. Anything you can do to help them?
No, we just got to play better. I mean, we've tried to get them in some situations where some aggressiveness may help them. We tried to Saturday, which it did in a couple instances. But as guys start to as the game goes on and you know more and more pieces are missing, then you have to do what's best for everybody. And so I think it can. I think it can and it can't based on what the situation is. And so other than that, we got to play better and we got to play more aggressive. That was kind of what the biggest thing for me was when we come back in on Sunday was I just didn't think we played very aggressive, whether you're in pressure, whether you're in coverage, no matter what it is. And so, we got to be better.
Coach, is there a increased level of frustration now? Because we talked last week about you and the team kind of felt like everything you worked on, paid off, and then it's kind of been a roller coaster ride of that this season. And then the result against Texas Tech, does that give you an extra sense of frustration that's maybe higher than you've been at WVU, or is it still the same thing? And are you going?
No. I'll say the same thing to the end, and the same thing I've said going back to the spring. Like, I love this group, I love these kids. Like, I'm excited about this group. Some things hadn't worked out the way that we thought they would. We hadn't had all the pieces that we thought we would, and that's a season. I don't feel any different. Nobody's going to get me to feel any different about this group. The thing that was probably disappointing for me starting out the game was we had a interception hit us in the hands, and we had 4 fumbles hit the ground, and we had 3 fumbles hit the ground, 4 balls hit the ground, 3 were actually fumbles, and 4 fourth downs in the first part of the game. So it was just missed opportunities. If there's a frustration, that's what it's about. It's not frustration with the kids. We made those same plays against Baylor, and we saw what the result was. We didn't play perfect by any means, but we saw what the result of making those plays. And when those opportunities come against a team, you're probably about to have to play 100 plays, which we played, I think, 103. All right, you got to make them. You got to get them off the field. That's I'm not going to feel any different about this group of kids. I mean, it's just not.
You're going to be maybe doing this week in order to maybe try to convert those, or is it just trying to, make sure you emphasize the fundamentals like we talked about?
Yeah, I mean, we had to play with better fundamentals, and then we had to finish plays, and when the ball's on the ground, get it. When the ball's in the air, get it. It goes back to what I've said the whole season. When plays present themselves, you got to make it, and if you don't, then you allow, especially an explosive offense, stay on the field. They're gonna make you pay the price for it, and it's as simple as that.
Jordan, you said that they didn't play aggressive enough. Neil said they didn't run into the ball hard enough. What causes that? Is it fear of getting beat? Is it lack of confidence of being on the road?
No, I mean, here's if you'd have told me at halftime how the game would have played out against that offense, where you're going probably a play every 10 to 12 seconds, all right, and you've got the opportunities that you have on the field that we missed in the first quarter of the game, and then when we settle in, what happened? We started getting stops. All right, now if you'd have told me that's how that game would have played out up to that point at halftime, I would not have. That's exactly how, in my mind, going into it, how I thought it would. All right, we survived this onslaught early on, and we knew we had to make the plays. We didn't make them, but at the end of the day, all right, when you come out of halftime, your 2 stops, 14 points, your 2 stops, all right, which we had just done the entire second quarter for the most part. And we settled in, and kids were playing fast. They were playing confident. We were getting off the field. We pressured when we thought we could and we needed to, and we affected the offense. And I think as you get into it more than anything in the second half, was, I think we just ran out of juice. We played on average 66 snaps a game. I think before that we played 55 when we went into halftime. So, and that doesn't include special teams for a group that's already thin. So, and that's not in any way, shape, or form an excuse. You've got to play however many plays that you play. All right, but we played probably by the second series of the third quarter as many plays we played in any game this year. And those certain pieces start to dwindle off, and then it's still not going the way you want it to go. I just thought we lost a little juice, and that takes when you lose that, you lose aggressiveness, aggressiveness and the fundamentals that it takes to play downhill and tackle that way. Then it snowballs into the end, and the result is what it is.
You see it from Doug, and it's different in the past.
Confidence in not only number one, but across the board with his offense. Probably more confidence in their offensive line. I think they're much improved. I think they're much better. Sitting in there and making throws all the way all across the field. That's the biggest thing I see.
How much of their run game becomes the focus? I mean, I know Duggan gets a lot of credit, but it seems like Miller is really having a heck of a year.
Yeah, and what I just said about the offensive line, I think that's probably the biggest thing, the biggest improvement that I see, which helps with all that. Not only Duggan running the ball, but the running backs. If you ask me what the concern is, it's every bit of it. They're really good at it. It's good offense.
Jordan, risk reward of blitzing with the secondary that's had some issues. How do you balance it?
This is the way I see risk reward. All right, and when you talk about blitzing, depending on the structure of it and what you think you can and cannot do, field positions a piece, situations a piece. And I do understand that people are going to enjoy, let's say 10 times, right? That people are going to enjoy the 5 times that you create a negative play. Well, what are those other 5? Right? Because if they're touchdowns, they're still 35 points. Right? So nobody remembers that, you know what I'm saying? That's how I view it. I just think you have to know when and where. And I probably in the second half didn't, and that's on me, but I probably didn't enough. So when I talk about lack of aggressiveness, I'm not only talking about the players, I'm talking about myself as well. So, that's something that you got to just have full confidence in and pull the trigger. And it's easy to talk about, but when you actually get out there in the situation and do it, there's things that you like, and there's things that give you hesitation, and you got to make that decision within those 12 seconds. And so probably should have made more of them.
Issues with yards after the catch. You see it more tackling, or is it?
Yeah, it's all tackling. It's all tackling.
All tackling?
It's all tackling.
How do you get it corrected for them?
It's a fundamental of tackling. So it's a simple fundamental of tackling. There's you see it across the board in the game now. I think the biggest thing that I see, and I've always talked about, is keeping your feet moving through contact. That's probably the biggest negative. Is I don't think a lot of times our guys make a physical hit, but there's nothing. If your feet die, then it's like cutting your engine off in your car. It dies right there. So it's just a fundamental issue. And I go back and watch Saturday. That's what it was. It's as simple as that.
With the lack of practice ability to tackle, can you get better at that at this point in the year?
I don't. Yeah, you try. You have to. You're gonna not try to get better at something. you know, with everything, especially this season in the game, you know, that goes on from the rules and what is and what isn't a proper hit and whatnot. You know, how do you practice it? You're obviously not going to practice at full speed. I don't think anybody hardly does on you know, on a regular basis. So, you know, you have to find ways to do it, and that's what we got to do. You're not going to sit there and not get better at something that's not that you need to. So, you just got to find a way. Got to be creative with it. Got to, you know, that's what you got to do.
With these guys, it seems like they're almost better offensively when they get behind big. What do you see from them that's enabled them to get back into these games when you study the tape of Oklahoma State and Kansas State?
Well, they always have the ability to hit a home run. They never not have the ability to be explosive, you know. And before, I think that you always you knew where number one was in previous seasons, but you know, now I think the tight end's as good as anybody that we have faced or will face. He's special. You know, the running backs, you know, once you decide where you're going to put the strength of your defense over any of those other guys, the run game can be explosive. Duggan can be explosive with his feet along with his arm. So when you have that, I don't think you're ever out of any football game because you never lose the ability to score in 10 seconds. And so however much time, I was just watching Oklahoma State. I was just watching film. I think it was 30-16 with 10 minutes ago. I mean, that's an eternity for an offense like that. So they're never out of any game.
Hey, Jordan, not to single on one player position, but the Dixon injury and Spear, I think you're only really playing two guys there, right? And that's kind of an important guy for run defense and edges and all that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, who else can you play there? Can you use? I know that you've got some wheels that can play, right?
Mm-hmm.
But is it on the field at all times just to get somebody a break? Like, it seems like one piece of the gears here that you kind of need, but who knows how you can do it right now?
Well, I mean, the good thing about that is it's pretty flexible. Always has been a pretty flexible position for us. You know, you just have to, you know, move the pieces around where you have to make it work. You know, and that guy's, you know, one of two things. He can be a cover guy or he can be a box guy if you need be. So it kind of gives you flexibility to move some pieces around, and you just have to maybe structurally have to do some things a little different. But we just got to it's got to be next guy up, next guy ready to play.
You said, I think you kind of mentioned to have to affect the passer more. That could be organic pass rush, blitzing, disguising, all that stuff. But is it how do you do it? I suppose without, as you said, like the risk reward, manage as best you can. But
well, you have to understand it's in two total different games. All right, you have a drop back team, you have a quick game team, you have a spread it out, throw it around team, and you always just go back to the beginning of the week and you say, well, when is the ball coming out? All right, and I think that Texas Tech was somewhere around 2 seconds. Okay, so you're affecting the passer in a normal pass rush situation is extremely difficult. But that being said, you have to know that going in, and it can be a tip ball. It can be, you know, I mean, Dante had a great play on the one RPO where he just reached out and extended his hand and got a hand on it. And, you know, we have to have more of those, have to have them across the board. And when you face an offense like that, so there's a lot of ways to affect the passer. You just got to figure out, your players have to know that, especially in the defensive front. And that's just got to be their emphasis of the week. These are the number of ways we can affect him. And when we see this, protection-wise, the drop of the quarterback, whatever it is, we have to know that. Whatever, maybe it's a down and distance tendency. and you just got to affect him however you can affect him.
Okay, thanks, Coach.
Thanks.